My name is Pete, and welcome to my garage. Hello YouTube, and welcome back to Pete's Garage. Behind me, I have a 2007 Ford Focus that has a 2-liter inline 4. And today we have a leaky valve cover. You can see right down here we have quite a bit of oil that has accumulated, and it will drip on that exhaust manifold back there, right down here, and it will cause a burning smell. And then also it can get in the spark plug holes and cause the plugs to not fire correctly because they're going to be saturated in oil. So today I'm going to show you how to replace this valve cover gasket. Stay tuned. You're going to need to disconnect all 4 of these ignition coils. These are what light the spark plugs off and cause them to spark. So it's pretty simple. First thing we need to do is unplug them, and hopefully these don't break, but you push down on this little tab right there, and then you can disconnect the connector. If for some reason this tab breaks off, you can reach under this side and lift up this side of the little tab in there with a little screwdriver if you have to. So disconnect all those. Next we need to remove all these, and the bolt is going to be an 8mm. Kind of give them a little bit of a wiggle and they'll come out. Alright, now that we got the ignition coils off, we're going to have to get this wiring harness out of the way. Disconnect the PCV hose right here. On the bottom there's a little tab that slides over, and then you can slide that off. Don't break that. Disconnect our cam sensor here. Tabs on the bottom of this, I believe. Sometimes they're a little more difficult to get unplugged. That one doesn't want to. That's not good. Sometimes it's easier just to unplug with this. Alright, pull the little grommet out of the valve cover. With the grommet pulled up, then we can get this disconnected. We can depress the little tab, pull up on that. You can disconnect this ground wire. Pull up. I'm going to disconnect the fuel pressure sensor too to get it out of the way. Pull up on all these little retainers. It also might be easier if we disconnect the fuel injector connectors. Gives us a little bit of room right here. On the back, this bracket right here, there's a 13mm. If I take that off, this whole thing will be able to move out of the way. Then we got a few wiring harness connections that we got to lift off the studs, but those are pretty easy too. Alright, 13mm back here. Oh, it's on there tight. Whew. Can't believe how tight that was. Alright, now our harness is loose enough to where we can move everything out of the way and we can get that valve cover out of there. We have studs that go all the way around. They're 8mm. Got our 8mm because we were already using it. Not quite. Got some bolts in the middle here. I hold it down. That thing is really stuck on there good. It always amazes me is how something can be stuck on there so good yet leak. There we go. Man, that thing's on there. That valve cover is loose. All right, now we just got to clean this bad boy up and get new gaskets on it because they are completely compressed down and they're just leaking out. All right, so I'm going to clean up. Here's part of the old gasket. We're going to clean up the perimeter or the head surface. And we're going to clean up with a razor blade too. So we have a good surface for our new gasket to seal on. But for now we'll get quick stuff with the paper towel here. I'll fast forward this for you so you don't have to watch me do this in normal speed. Let's cue the fast forward right now. All right, the head surface now looks good where the valve cover gasket sits. Now we just got to replace this valve cover gasket that's on here. This old gasket is very hard and it's not very pliable. So there we go. This inner seal here is not too bad. If you have a parts washer, great. If not, and you're stuck like me using a whole bunch of rags, trying to get this cleaned up. All right, that looks a lot better. All right, I got a Felpro gasket for this one. Should be fine. All right, this one's got the little kick out. It goes where that bolt hole is. The other side doesn't. That's pretty simple. Make sure all the plastic's off of that. This has got the little kick out. It's going to go right there. Okay. Now, right around here is where the cylinder head meets the timing cover. There's little spots on the gasket that meet up at that spot, usually. Okay, there we go. And you see that spot right there, it kind of helps line it up. Just make sure you push the gasket down into the groove real good. All right, that's good to go. I'll lift all this up, slide it under. Make sure it's sitting down there good. Then we'll hand start all of our bolts. Got a few more that are pretty dirty that I'm just going to spray off. All right, a couple of these bolts are longer than others, but all the bolts where they go into the cylinder head or the timing cover are all the same size. I think these two bolts that are longer than each other are the two that go back here for this harness to sit on. All right, get all the bolts started by hand. All right, I'm not tightening them all the way. I'm just getting them snug so I can tighten them with a torque wrench. All right, I'm going to tighten these to about 89 inch-pounds or so. Okay, make sure we don't forget these inside bolts so we don't get any oil into our spark plug holes. Okay, at this point, pretty much start plugging stuff in. We got our cam sensor here that we took out the bolt for, so we got to get that tight. All right, we also have our 13 that goes back here at the very back. Okay, don't forget to put the wiring harness over the bolts. Plug the ground in, put that over where it goes. Same thing about all these. They have to push down in the correct spots so it can retain. Plug in your fuel injectors. Make sure they're all seated and they click good, and give them a little pull up. Make sure that they're seated in there good so you don't get any misfires. Then we got our knock sensor connector down here. Make sure that plugs back in or seals up there on the hole. And we have our PCV hose. That should just push on. That's on there good. Now all we got to do is put our ignition coils back in and we're good to go. Make sure they're seated. Make sure they click. You want those connectors to click in real good. If they don't, you could end up with a misfire. All right, that job is done, except I want to make sure I clean all this up from where it was leaking before. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, please hit the like button. If you would like to see more content like this, please hit subscribe, and I'll get more content up as soon as I can. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments section. I'll answer them back.